Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Shakespearean True Abroad. I am your Shakespearean True, Karen Finer, lover of all things bard, and this is a decorum be damned entrance into all things theater, literature, and all the fun stuff that lies between. Today, I am so excited to be talking to my dear friend David Weber, professor, actor, director, amazing human, and we get to discuss Shakespeare's The Tempest because that is the project that you are currently directing as we speak for Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park. Thank you so much for joining us.
Woo, woo. Start off by doing something ridiculous and silly that I can watch and go, why did you do that? Why can't you just say yes? Thank you for having me.
It brings the world joy, and
I
that's
hope
what
so. We need it.
we definitely do. And we're going to talk about that. But so, first off,
Sure.
I have seen you in quite a few productions, acting. I've seen you directing quite a few productions. What led to the production of The Tempest? Was this like a cumulative decision from Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park and yourself? Was this their decision and then they just said, "Do you want to direct this?" And you said, "Yes, please." How did that kind of pan out?
That's a great question because, I have been on the other side of uh, this experience and watched actors and directors talk. And when a director or an actor says, I just kind of went with the flow, I didn't have a plan, I go, am I thinking too hard? Because I think that I have these dreams and aspirations that we do, but now I understand a little bit about what that means because I had never planned on Oklahoma. I had never really, I did put a lot of attention on wanting to teach acting at a college or a university. I just wanted to work with willing students who want to do this thing as a vocation, and I still do. And
Yeah.
so that landed me here, and then I auditioned for Tyler and Alyssa Branch, and they welcomed me in. And then after that, I was like, boy, I'd really like to work with them again. I don't know, did they like me? And then Catherine used me for her last production of Twelfth Night. And then Tyler started talking about how can we, as an artistic associate, bring some of the resources of OSU together. And, so it all just becomes a conversation about what's available. And it usually is Tyler using the community to come up with this idea of what the season would be, sorting through different offers. Like last year, I think Chris Cuss and I said, ooh, Complete Works would be a great show.
And it was.
And then that came, and then we became kind of packaged together with that one. And then you cast and open it up. And then Merry Wives, I kind of worked with him. But Tyler and that process goes by through his mind of the season and for the community in general. So Tempest was a decision that was made, had nothing to do with me.
You just got the offer and you were like, "Yes, okay, yes, please."
Yeah, and that offer comes again. It's like, there was no plan. It wasn't like I was like, hey, it was more about being an actor available in that universe. From that conversation, I was just thinking at 52, and I've been involved in other productions of Tempest before and felt like my age had aged me out in certain kind of dynamics of it.
Hmm.
And so I thought maybe directing it that I could possibly help tell the story at my age at 52, understanding things like revenge and understanding what mercy means and understanding what it means to be mostly a theater director and author. That idea of a man of the theater and Prospero, I get that in the production now versus what maybe I would have 10 years ago. So then it just becomes a great opportunity that I have been fortunate to be given, and then I try to facilitate that to the best of my ability.
Well, I love that you mentioned the 52 and thinking about where you fit because really that perspective, and can I just say for the record, 52, Schmifty2, you look like a youngin. So we'll just keep you in that category. But it
Thank
really
you.
does fit with that Shakespeare Prospero perspective that emerges, right? That idea of Prospero, every third thought is my grave, as Shakespeare is leaving the theater, as Shakespeare is getting ready to retire, is getting ready to move back to Stratford and be bougie and have his giant house. And that transition for him, I think, was a really big one. And I think we see how big that transition is in The Tempest. I think The Tempest showcases a turning point in his life where he starts to see things differently. And I got a chance to talk to two of your amazing actors, Miriam and Dalton, who are playing Miranda and Ferdinand.
Aren't they
And
great?
they're amazing. But we were talking about the relationship between the lovers, and they were talking all about how they'd be a powerhouse. They'd be such a good couple. They would rule the kingdom well. And I loved it. I ate it up because I'm jaded, right? I am 41 and have seen so many of these characters, these relationships that are dumpster fires. And so I think at a certain point, I'm like, oh gosh, Shakespeare's comedies where all of their people end up band-aided together and you're like, "Oh, well that relationship is the worst thing ever. Why? Why are you putting those two people together?" And their understanding of how their characters fit together, their understanding of their relationships with their parents and how it was not without effort,
Yeah.
that idea of Shakespeare looking back and understanding a different kind of first love than he's presented us before. What you're saying about age and looking at this play is so important because I think that's what Shakespeare did. I think that's what makes The Tempest such a special production.
It does. It's perspective, right? It's why Chekhov is funny. It's you and I listening to some 20-somethings talk about how horrible life is and how busy they are and how little money they have. And you and I going, really? You're
Yes.
busy, you're tired, really? That's why it's funny is people watching us react to that.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing of, having Lance as, he's upper leadership of Oklahoma Shakespeare. And so you need that kind of actor, director, teacher to to hold that space to be Prospero. And so
Yeah.
then you have someone that understands that and then watch Lance's take on the character. And he's very much doesn't have to be directed into that. He gets it.
Yeah.
And he yes ands me. He's like, I get that we're all trying to bring out the imagination of Shakespeare's, events, the
Yep.
theatricality of what Shakespeare is so gifted at. But it's all very grounded in a human story. It's all
Yeah.
very grounded in a father, and my title. I'm an assistant director. I'm also a dad. I'm an assistant professor. I'm also a nephew. I'm an uncle. I'm a
Yes.
son. I'm a friend. You know what I mean? And Shakespeare gets that relentlessly. He understands that. And so does Lance. And so that's kind of how that happens. And then it's my job just to maintain the integrity of the story, to help tell that story through a variety of, different tools that I have at my disposal. And hopefully the audience will enjoy that. If something's like arbitrary or the iconic ship, the 1-1, that moment doesn't set us off on a great event, then I feel like I've maybe done a disservice. But Shakespeare wrote that something magical and wondrous happens right at the top of the play, because then you're just going to have to listen for a half hour.
Yes.
It's very simple. It's just a duet, duet, duet. But when people cut that because they don't want to see bad Star Trek acting of a shipwreck, they're missing out on what Shakespeare intended. It's like, no, I want to start us off with a big action sequence. Other than the mask that he writes with Iris, I've eliminated that because I think Shakespeare was, again, at the top of his game going, you've wanted me to write you wanted me to do a mask my entire career. I'll give the people a 5-minute rendition of what one is. But I'm like, okay, well, I can lose that if we still maintain the blessing of, like, the idea that Prospero is blessing their union.
Right.
But other than that, Shakespeare kind of gives us these great spectacle events wrapped into a very, very human story.
Yes, very much. It's interesting because there is so much magic in The Tempest. Wait, where were we? Okay.
Oh, yeah. You asked me a question and then I went off on a tangent.
What we do.
Yeah.
But so with we were
I
talking
should probably just
about,
talk about how awesome Dalton and Miriam are.
I mean, we could just do that, but
Well, that's the best thing, again, about being a director is you meet all these people. And when it comes to casting, another thing about actors thinking that directors have this plan. Yeah, there's people that I know, and there's people that I have an idea of who they might be in this world. But then, the general auditions happen, and then it's just like, holy crap. Oklahoma City and Tulsa, the community, both a large, so many talented actors in this community, which is so incredible, served. And so, yeah, Dalton, I had never met either of them. And so when they showed up in their callbacks, they kind of stepped into the role.
yeah. So is that what it was that made you cast them? You could see
It's
them
just
at
kind of like I might have an idea of who I think might be those characters, and then they just, the actor usually just goes, without even saying it, they are it.
Yes.
It's the way they take up space and use the space and connect with each other. And Dalton and Miriam were dancing in the aisle in their callback, and I was like, oh wow, that's okay, that's the characters right there.
That's part of
What
drew you to
watching them
energy
do that is what I was like, oh my gosh.
of that.
And then it's just like talking to Tyler and different teachers and going, do you know them? Are they good to work with? I don't know them. I've never met with them. I've never taught them.
Yeah. Well, and it's Miriam.
Just
This
graduated.
is her first Shakespeare, and she
Oh
just
wow,
graduated.
that's
Yeah.
insane. I didn't even know that.
I know. I was like, wow. And it's her first Shakespeare production, and I was like, so what was your familiarity with The Tempest coming in? And she's like, yeah, we missed that one. And I was like, oh. So she got to come in with a really fresh perspective, which I love.
Yeah.
And then Dalton, on the other hand, was like, yeah, I wrote a 15-page research paper on The Tempest. So I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, it's kind of interesting too. Again, I don't know hopefully like a lot of actors or directors watch this. And if it's a young actor, there's something about Dalton. Again, it's like behind the rearview mirror of, remember when I was a young actor at the Atlanta Shakespeare Company at the Shakespeare Tavern, Jeff Watkins used to tell people, would be like, how do I work at the Shakespeare Tavern? And Jeff would say, come see our shows. Come see our shows. And then that just as a young actor, that became so embedded that other people would say that. Like, if you want to work at Looking Glass, come see a show. If you want to work at the Goodman in Chicago, come see the shows. Come see them and see if you even want to work with us. One, and then if there's this kind of pull, like, oh yeah, I want to do that. Because it's true. Like, there's a lot of theaters I'll go to and I'll think that's an amazing show. I just don't see myself on that stage. Or there are some places where I'll go and I'm like, I got to get up there and play with those people.
Yeah.
And Dalton is one of those actors. He has actually seen shows at Oklahoma Shakespeare and has had that kind of fire going, I want to do that. I
Yeah.
can do that. I want to do that. And so it's fun to hear that perspective on the other side. He didn't come up to me at callbacks and say, "Hey, I really liked you as Toby Belch," which would have been fine.
Yeah.
But he sandbagged that to 2 weeks into rehearsal to go to say, I really enjoyed your Toby Belch in Twelfth Night with you and Paxton. And then Paxton's right there. And we're like, oh my God, he's awesome. And so it's just, for me, watching going, oh, that's a smart way to handle yourself. These kids today,
These kids today.
they're going to save the world, I tell you.
They're amazing. Thinking about your cast, right? So you talked about casting them. What kind of director are you? You said you kind of use your tools and make sure that you stick to the heart of the play, of the story of the play. But what does that look like when you are wrangling your cast? Is it that you just let them try things out and then give them different ideas? Do you give them different ideas to try and then change from there?
I think the technique, again, it's the number, the age, 52. It goes from like many years just having zero desire to direct. Like I had no desire to direct. Not that I didn't, not that I hated it, the idea of it. I just didn't, it wasn't in my engine. It was
Right.
all acting. It was all acting. Then it started to turn into maybe writing. Like I did some stand up and I wrote some scripts and writing and acting, writing and acting. And then as a job, I started working summer camps for kids. And those become those opportunities where the camp director says, hey, have you ever directed a musical? And it's like, no, but I've been in a bunch. It's like, well, can you direct Once Upon a Mattress? Like, I can. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I can. And so finding that those opportunities started to happen in my late 20s. The idea of directing just becomes another facet of creating theater. And so a person of the theater who plays many parts is where I fall into the line of the journeyman, whereas like someone like Seth Gordon is primarily a director, or I don't want to speak for it, but there are people that are primarily directors, and that's what they do. Whereas I am more actor, creator, director. And so my process is very much like that. I'm very much a creator, and I try to figure out the alchemy of what might work for actors to play with. And I'm getting better at offering that or suggesting some things for them to play with and knowing, and this is part of my process, some people don't like it. I remember at the Atlanta Shakespeare Tavern, Jacqueline Hoffman, the first rehearsal of Twelfth Night, she had us all break up into these groups and perform our mini production of Twelfth Night before we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. And I remember their rumblings of this is kind of workshoppy. I'm not a student anymore, that kind of thing, but not the primary company.
Yeah.
And so same thing might be said of me. But I'm getting stronger at going, well, okay, cool. You don't have to work that way. That's not
Yeah.
not a judgment on you, and it's definitely not a judgment on me. It's my process.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting stronger at bringing people into that. I make offers, you make offers, and we find a solution to this, as opposed to I make offers, you come up with a roadblock or confusion or and want to talk about it. I'm like, that doesn't work with me.
Right.
It's like, let me worry about the end game. Come up with ideas, and then we'll find the little thing with that we both make together. And if that is not an actor's cup of tea, then I'm probably not the director for them, which is totally fine. And in academic theater, I have to figure out how to provide value for the student.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can figure out what works for their process and my process, and we kind of figure that out together. But it's still the same kind of process with me to
Yeah.
help them figure out how to be more than just an actor, but a theater creator.
I understand when people are like, "Oh, but I'm not a student anymore." And yet, as a
But aren't we all,
professor, you're always a student. You're
right?
always like
It's a
when
very old school. It's so out of, again, those people are not, I don't see them in my universe. I don't see them on Instagram. I don't see them working anymore.
right,
And I understand it. It's like whatever kind of, oh, that's too, it's, you're moving too fast or you're bulldozing. I was like, no, I'm excited. I'm creating and I want people to create with me. And
right,
we're arriving at this idea that's going to be amazing. And that takes a certain kind of energy and a
right.
certain kind of yes and quality to it. And primarily for it to not work. It's like if Holly McNatt, Matt Smith, and Chris Cuss had a lot of confusion towards my ideas for Complete Works, we would have never done that show. It
Right.
just never would have happened. They yes anded my ideas. They were like, well, that seems insane, but why not? Let's try it.
Right.
And yeah, they made it better. They made my ideas better. And I try to do that with other directors too. Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah. So this is going to be an outdoor production, which
Hmm.
is always exciting and a little scary in Oklahoma. I've heard Lance is very excited to not be in a fat suit this time around. But with that, what are some of the joys and struggles of outdoor theater and things that you as the director kind of have to think about with outdoor theater?
My experience with it has increased with Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park, where I'd never done it before. So I'd heard of other people doing it, and I kind of felt like, oh, I kind of missed this gradient in my career until I was cast in Romeo and Juliet, and Alyssa Branch directed that production, and I saw firsthand and experienced firsthand the challenges of doing outdoor theater, the unpredictability of the weather. That is the biggest challenge. So those things become just thoughts about what to do with the show. And Tyler Woods is always thinking about it. It's like how can we take the gift that is Oklahoma's weather and use it to our advantage, you know. From my perspective with Shakespeare, it's really, really interesting because in an indoor theater, the shipwreck would be one thing. For outdoor theater, we're on the lawn watching the show. I think tracks a little bit more along the lines of what Shakespeare would have had.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's a huge gift.
Yeah.
It's when the thunder rumbles from the background as Lance is speaking. It's
Yes.
like, whoa, that's amazing. And when it gets to the sunset and the actors on stage and the wind is blowing through their hair, I mean, it's just so poetic and beautiful. And there's really nothing like it. It's that quality of the experience that other people then watch and think this is Shakespeare. That I believe that's why the company has been around for over 40 years. And from my perspective, who's just joined it for the past 5, I'm like, how come everybody's not coming to this thing? How come 350 people aren't here every night with their blankets? It's such a great thing to do over the summertime, And when people do use the objection of the heat as their, like you're fine. It's only a couple hours. It's the sun has gone down. You got your fan. Get a bottle of wine. You're gonna have a
Yep. Get
great
your
time.
beverages from Henri. Like,
Get Henri to, yeah. And the Mermaid Tavern is beautiful. But I believe Tyler and Henri understand that in their bones and
yeah,
are creating something
even more
that
magic.
will hopefully continue to find new people to come out and experience what's available to them.
Yeah. Well, what Dalton mentioned that I thought was kind of a remarkable remark was the intimacy of the outdoor theater. Because a lot of times we think about the intimacy of the indoor theater, But really, the outdoor theater and the shared experience that you have as an audience member with the actors on the stage, where the wind blows and you both feel it, right? Like there's a shared environment. You're inhabiting the same world in a sense, even while they're on stage and you're sitting in your chair or on the grass hanging out. There's
Hmm.
that shared experience that is very unique to outdoor theater.
It is, and it is very special. The negative side of it is it can be a little grueling when
Oh,
it's
especially for
because, the creating of the theater is very athletic. And so there's the element of heat. Yeah, that um it's like, oh, come on, give us a break, Oklahoma. But when it does, it rains and then you get your show canceled. And it's
the.
like, oh. So yeah,
So,
there's some really great things that the outdoor quality, the intimacy of it, the shared experience gives us that Shakespeare wrote for that dynamic
mhm,
specifically, which is a takeaway from me with working with Shakespeare that
yeah.
I'll never forget. Like the highs and lows of it are now part of my memories, you know?
We talked about some of the weather difficulties of being outdoors, but what about Shakespeare? Dalton gave some great advice to Shakespearean actors and just said, just go out there and audition. And remember, don't put him on a pedestal. And I was like, I love it. But what are some of the difficulties with Shakespeare in the 21st century, in your
Hmm.
perspective?
I don't know. I mean, I, I, I believe that Shakespeare is just as entertaining as it's ever been, and just as needed, and just as rewarding. For the 21st century, I think the plays will ebb and flow. Some will be more relevant than others, and some that seem problematic. Like, why is this considered a problem? Producing is expensive. These plays, when done really well, demand a large company.
Hmm.
And that's an event, is to see 16 actors on a stage playing many parts is fun. It's a large concert. It's an orchestra. And the economy makes it really hard for an executive producer to fulfill that
Yes.
event. Yeah, you can do Shakespeare with 8 actors. You can pare it down. You can do that. But the fun is seeing a large company.
Right.
And so that is something that, it depends. You need donors. You need people to
Yeah.
help support it. You need the public that protects it. It's like the
Yeah.
Paseo community is like, no, this company's not going anywhere. We're gonna show up in droves. And I'm a little biased, but I've seen shows at Oklahoma Shakespeare, not as an actor or director, and I'm like, that's great theater. Like Penelope was a great show, and Love Labor's Lost last year
Shout
was
out
a
to Amanda
great show.
Lee.
Shakespeare in Love was a great show. I've seen shows there that I'm like, this is a good company. It's a good company to be as an actor or director. It's a good to be associated with. When the audience is big, when it's 320 people and they're laughing and having a great time, there's nothing like it. Merry Wise Windsor, when 300 people are laughing and having fun, and it's just there's nothing like it. All the ingredients are there. It's just gets harder and harder, I'm sure, to financially make it viable. But again, I'm lucky. I don't cut the checks,
Yeah.
so that's where it's just kind of being mindful as a director to know that Tyler. Like I can't, and I want a helicopter to fly in. And Tyler's really good about this too. He's never just said no.
Right.
And I have brought in a lot of influences, choreography and sound design and composition and props. I've done that with complete works and with this. And there's never a no. It's just like, what's the plan? And think about it, and give it to me. And it's that same kind of like I make offers, he makes offers, and we find solutions. It's
Right.
never a no but. And so that becomes kind of again, a privilege to be able to create theater in the space that is OSP.
Well, and I think a lot of the times people think, well, why go see a show when I could just watch a movie from the comfort of my own home?
Hmm.
And I think that comfort is kind of a problem. I think that we as a society have gotten worse at being uncomfortable and embracing uncomfortable, not just like, oh, I'm sweating, but uncomfortable as a way of putting yourself out there to have an experience that you might have to think through it. You might have to have some difficult engagements. Theater's not easy.
Yeah. I'm of a generation that is still connected with a relationship with TV Guide and looking through the paper to see where the movie was playing and calling up that movie theater to see when it was playing. Like I'm still of that generation where that's part of my process. And so this new dynamic of streaming and here's all at once. Here's your buffet all at once. Hopefully, just like a buffet, no one really, not the majority of us aren't going to buffets Monday. We
Yeah.
need to either just eat at home or go out as an event. I'm hoping that still exists. I'm hoping that thrives, that people will still want to go to concerts. People will still want to go to the movies. People will continually find the magic that is in live theater and opera and ballet and concerts and bands. That's where the gift is. You know, I also think that people who go see theater are people who go see theater. Like my parents, I don't know if they would have ever seen a play had I not been an actor. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe they would say, no, 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 we would do it. But they have seen and been part of a whole, and I think they enjoy it. I think that they enjoy my friends, and I think that they're coming out to see The Tempest, and they're looking forward to it. And I think that, that's what I want is more people to find other people talking about the magic of theater and going, okay, well, let me
Yeah.
give it a shot. I think we
Well,
have
I
so
think
much
you,
concern about, oh, if it's a crappy play, they won't come back. And I'm like,
yeah.
well, I've seen a lot of crappy plays and I still come back, you
And
know?
the one thing I loved as a professor was I was like a gateway for my students to go to the theater. So I took my honors kids to the theater, and thankfully the honors program paid for the tickets. My Shakespeare students would go see a play, and a lot of them were like, "Oh, I've never been to a play before," and that just kind of blew my mind. But they loved it,
Yeah.
and so my hope is that people will try it. Is that they'll have the opportunity to put it out there. And the nice thing about Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park is that the tickets aren't that expensive. Compared to a lot of other theaters, the tickets are very reasonable. And so it gives people from a lot of different backgrounds the opportunity to try something kind of new and different.
The cost of a theater ticket versus a movie theater ticket can be expensive. And
And then
so
don't even think about getting popcorn or anything from the
exactly. And
concession
so
stand.
this idea of a night out, whether it's theater or film or just food, it's tough, man. I mean, we're all experiencing the rise of going to Sprouts and going, wait, when did chicken become $15? I was just getting used to it being $9.99,
Or filling up
and
your gas
being
tank
like,
in
why is it
time.
$9.99? Shouldn't it be like five? So there's that dynamic that is
Yeah.
happening. But OSP, you have to look for it. And it's on their website, but there is volunteer, there's reduced prices, there's rush tickets,
Tickets for the
there's,
younger crew. There's
yeah,
the
never
pink
younger.
one
There are
in
opportunities. And
yeah.
so I get a little annoyed when students go, oh, it's too expensive there. And I'm like, have you asked to volunteer? Because what Oklahoma, as Oklahoma City and Tulsa, they don't have for our students is the variety of theater that a Chicago or New York City or even Los Angeles would have, or
Right.
Atlanta. When I'm in Chicago, I go to much more theater by that. And there's more reality about what's happening on the other side of the street. You could make an argue that maybe OSU and OCU and OU, we could all kind of start trying to come and see each other's shows together, but it's not like we're linked together. It's a drive. It's
Right.
hard, and
Right.
that's just academically where it's like then you only have three. You got Lyric, you got Oklahoma City Rep, and then there's Carpenter. I mean, there's just not a lot of theater available for full-time students or for adults.
Right.
And that's what kind of bugs me. Whereas like it's just not part of my experience. Where even in Atlanta, there's Theatrical Outfit, Actors Express, there's the Atlanta Shakespeare Company, there's you
Well, and
know,
that's the nice thing, though, I think about OSP is because it kind of comes back to what you were talking about as a teacher
hmm
and the fact that you have kind of created, you wanted to teach college students, right? Because you wanted to help them move towards, as I think we've talked about this in a previous episode, but their goals, their dreams, help them reach whatever it is they're trying to reach.
hmm
And I think OSP, I think you're such a good fit there because OSP kind of allows that for a lot of their actors. They have a lot of young, up and coming actors that they help find their direction and find
yeah,
out.
they have their hands out as emerging artists. Come make a contribution.
Yeah.
Make a contribution to this art form and get some really great, valuable experience, get some great stage time, and then move off and take what you got and go if you must.
Yeah.
But a lot of young actors are going to find that that model also exists in other cities. And so
Mhm.
if it's just like, if it's a ladder, like I've done this and now I've done this and I've done this, that way of thinking as an actor or a theater creator is not sustainable. It's just not. It really becomes about, well, what are you going to give now that you have received your resume credit and you've
Right.
received, what are you going to give now? And that's the only way. It's not me being altruistic. It's the
Mhm.
only way theater works. It's about taking what you got and moving and putting your hand out for the person that's coming behind you.
Yeah.
Any theater creator will tell you the same thing. It's like, well, I'm not here because of just me. I'm here because of a community of champions who have extended their attention to helping me when I didn't even know that they were,
Yeah.
and that still happens to this day. And OSP, you're right, is keyed into that model. And guess what? So was Shakespeare.
Yes. Absolutely.
Shakespeare was an apprenticeship, mentorship model of theater creators and still is. Like I apprenticed as a young actor with Shakespeare, played many parts in The Tempest when I was younger to now I'm directing the show. It's
Well, in
because I'm
Midsummer,
ready for it.
right. And I think Midsummer is like the ultimate, sorry, Midsummer is the ultimate apprenticeship showcase because it literally shows the mechanicals and that ability to move past what you were designated to be and
Yeah.
allow you to become something more. And I think The Tempest, as Shakespeare's last play, is that ultimate idea of who can you become?
Well, I've been
Because
thinking a lot about that because Midsummer Night's Dream was my kind of gateway into a Shakespeare
I love
career.
it. Uh-huh.
And it's been such a huge part. And I always come back to it in a way. And
What role did
last
you
year
play
I
in Midsummer?
directed it. And Midsummer Night's Dream and Tempest, they live side by side each other. And
So
and
what
and
role did you play? I have to ask. What role did you play in
in
Midsummer?
Midsummer, I've played Demetrius and I've played Oberon and Theseus. So I
So
played
was Demetrius
Oberon,
your first one?
Theseus, and I played Oberon. And then Demetrius for many years with Shakespeare Tavern, we did it. We We had a hit. It came back for 3 years, and
Oh, nice.
I almost played it for the fourth year. But I would joke with Jeff Watkins and say I'm old enough to be Demetrius's father by now. Come out. But it was a great show. It was a lot of fun to play. A lot of friends to this day are still actors from that production.
Mhm.
And then I played Oberon years later in Chicago, and then in Seattle, and then I just directed it for Stage Door and for OSU last year. And so love the
So,
show. I've never played Bottom. I've never played uh, Peter Quince, but those are roles that you'd think that would be fun.
yes, absolutely. You talked about Shakespeare and how much he has given, right? The apprenticeship that is in Shakespeare. A lot of the problems with
I've been in
Shakespeare.
this so long too that I'm thinking about, if anybody is listening to me, they're thinking about the devil's advocate to everything that I'm saying. But that's just per my experience, and I just have
Right.
to like everything that I'm saying is per my experience.
Of course. And that's what it's all about, right? You can only
Right.
talk from your own experience.
It is, and from my experience, I think the Shakespeare is a gift for the actors. Just I don't see, I don't understand the actor who says that they don't like Shakespeare or that it's too hard. I'm like, can't you pick a different? Can't you rebel against something else
Yeah.
than your chief employer for the next like 30 years of your life? There's nothing but experience and opportunity you're going to get as a young actor
Mm.
if you start looking at Shakespeare as a potential revenue.
A lot of people have turned against Shakespeare because of some of his monsters, so to speak, right? The
Hmm.
problems of colonialization that come up with Caliban, the problems about women's rights that come up with Taming of the Shrew, or the problems of anti-Semitism when applied to The Merchant of Venice, right? But our society and our view of monsters has been kind of twofold because we have like the Grinch and Scrooge and Shrek,
I was
and
about to say, please don't make coffee a monster.
I
You
would never.
pointed to your cup, and I was like, is that a monster? Then I saw the Grinch.
It's the Grinch. Um, but so we've kind of embraced these monsters, right? These are our fuzzy monsters that we now like, and then we've created these new monsters in a polarized society where we are dehumanizing any of those that we can't understand or that we view as a threat to our way of life. How does that climate affect your view of the Tempest, or how does it resonate, maybe even with your view of the Tempest as you go into directing this play?
As an actor and as a person of the theater, as a director, I understand what is problematic about the content. I get it. But when it comes to the playwright and the authorship and whatever that conversation is, the plays as written, I just see stories that are human beings are trying to figure themselves out. I don't see rah 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 for colonialism or for the abuse of women or for the page. I don't see rah 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 for that. I see this exists. What are we gonna how are we gonna what are we gonna do? How is this and this gonna coexist? That's what I see in the content of Shakespeare's plays through the artifice of theater, wrapped
Mhm.
up in song and dance and spectacle. But in the middle of it, human beings are trying to figure out who they are in relationship to their status. That's what I see in these shows and the experience of. And, sometimes conceptually, maybe directors can reinforce things that are not helpful, but I think the plays as entertainment is what they were back in
Yeah.
the time. They were not, Shakespeare didn't make any money from trying to teach people. They were vaudeville. They
Right.
were populist entertainment, or he would not have had anything to retire from. He built something that existed that he was able to then leave to another artistic director and take off. And so that said, it's a catalog of material that
Hmm.
I don't identify with the voices of dissent. I only identify with the possibilities of tremendous community.
I love
You could
that.
take everything I just said and say I'm wrong, and then half of my friends go away. Half of my career goes away. I mean, not half, three-quarters of it. All of it goes away if Shakespeare goes away.
Yeah.
I'd probably find something else, right?
I
But because of the contribution that Shakespeare made
yeah.
through the art, it has benefited a lot of players in a way that
Yeah.
vaudeville has veggie backed on top of, and different devised theaters have and creators have veggie backed from and branched out from, and innovators have branched out from.
I think you're absolutely right. I don't think anybody's going to argue against you. And if you do want to argue against us, go for it.
Go for it.
We'd love to have the conversation. But
Yeah, because I'm not going to try to prove anybody right on it. It's just
yeah,
like that's been, again, it's my experience, it's my point of view.
but I think your
Um,
experience plays a lot into this. Revenge has a huge part in The Tempest. But as somebody who performs an actor's carol every holiday season, which is a play that you have created that is so in tune with Dickens' theme of redemption, what role do you see redemption playing in The Tempest? Do you see redemption as a big part of of your production of The Tempest?
I see, and this is what's great about being able to work on Tempest, is having an understanding of that conversation about Prospero's journey, but to hear how he talks about Gonzalo in the beginning of the show, and then when he's so happy that they're getting their comeuppance, and so happy that they're in pain, and Ariel says, "Geez, if I were human, I would be a little bit more kind," that. And it's been interesting in the text to hear Prospero hear that and be like, well, well, didn't they do this and didn't they do that? And that change has been really, really gratifying to take this idea of why does he forgive Antonio, and why does he forgive Sebastian, and why does he invite everybody into the house? Why do they all live happily ever after? And that's kind of interesting. I don't see, like, redemption doesn't pay off yet, but that decision to forgive, and that it's going to be a journey, that it's not going to be easy, but he will make the decision to forgive. And the action is come into my house. And then he ends the play.
I love that because it recontextualizes the title itself. Because you can either think of it as The Tempest, as one event that initiated the rest of the play, or
Hmm.
you can think of The Tempest as the entirety of the show and what happens afterwards,
Or the
right?
visual of the tempest in the very beginning of the play, swirling, and then very at the end of the play, the waters calming, is something that I'm working with in
I
terms
like
of
that.
that image of, we have an understanding of, if I'm mad
Right,
at you, I'm just hurting myself,
right.
and you see Shakespeare and his retirement playing with that idea, I think, a little bit of that
Yeah,
humanity of what he's found
yeah.
of, bless you, change me.
Yes.
And Prospero is going to try. I don't know if he's going to get it right, but he did get his daughter a great match. You
Which, I
know?
mean,
So is he Mother Gothel or is he a good dad? I don't know. I think he's a good dad. I think he
yeah,
wants to be a good dad. I think he's a problematic dad, but what dads aren't?
right. And then the question that Dalton asked was if Ferdinand wasn't nice, wasn't this great guy that won his
Would he?
approval,
Yeah, he would have
would he
been.
still marry her to him anyway?
I don't
And
know. I mean, Ariel, he's like, you thought being in, a comfy, soft pine was good. I'm going to stick you back into a knotted oak. He's not, yeah, he shows signs of like, he's not warm and fuzzy. It was like,
no.
oh, this guy's got some anger issues.
Yeah. And then Lance, I love Lance for it because he can be the warmest person ever, which I think is
Hmm.
how he is with Miranda.
Hmm.
And then I feel like if you asked him to hit the switch, he could be scary. Like
Yeah, he hits the switch.
yeah, which is so cool.
It's so cool. No, it's great. It's so cool. And again, he's an actor and a director working in his craft
Hmm.
that he's building a character with the skill level to be able to hit the
Right,
switch.
right.
And always just after working with Lance, he's just so there's nothing. He's so great to have in any room. He's great to have backstage. He's just a great.
I know.
He's a
The
great
two
dude.
of you are like my two favorite people to hug.
Aw,
Like,
I
uh,
got I got that going for me. I'll take it.
I don't know what it counts for, but definitely true.
Counts for a lot.
So, one of the big changes I heard you make was that Alonzo is now Alonza.
Uh-huh.
And you have created one of the more healthy-ish relationships between Shakespeare's mother and son relationships because mothers don't always get a good rap with Shakespeare or Disney. So, what made you make that change from Alonzo to Alonza? Was that just a casting thing where you were
I think
like,
it's
"Ooh,
more, I mean, again, this could be like, the thought process is about opportunity. So it's not so male loaded. It's like, Trinculo is also played by female actors.
yeah,
So there's always where can we get this less of a just
sausage
dude
roll.
heavy show is one. That's what I'm looking for opportunity of what because I don't think gender in Shakespeare really as long as we could track relationship.
Right.
This is a great time from like, oh yeah, of course, women can play Hamlet, and of course
Yeah.
now it's like, of course you should. I mean, there should be like, a, a full-on company
Well, and I
of
just think it's funny because so many people,
identifying female actors playing these roles because there's no reason why you shouldn't. That said, I don't want to confuse. There is like, there is some play, there's dynamic of he and sir and king, and there are those adjustments for purists that would be like, don't touch it, or it's okay as long as it scans. So far, I think the relationship of I am someone of status who has lost my son, I think we're still maintaining that function.
yeah. And I think a lot of times people forget because they're like, oh, Shakespeare's casts are so male heavy, but they forget that women weren't allowed on the stage at that point in time. So to find these young boys who could play these amazing female roles that he created
Hmm.
wasn't an easy feat.
Well,
So
it's like, if Lance was not playing Prospero, like,
it could be a Prospero, but
why not? I mean, Helen Mirren was fantastic, and there's a bunch of,
yeah,
companies that have done the same model and have had great success, and so why not? So
right.
I am always curious about, Prospero and Antonio as brothers, but it's the relationship of you have, I want.
Yes.
That is what the story is. You're not paying attention, I'm going to take. That's very Claudius and brother Hamlet of like, I could do this better. And so that story is the same story with Antonio's drive,
Hmm.
the villain plot. But, as long as
And
that
Ferdinand's a
story,
mama's boy.
yeah,
That's just, I just love that I just love that for Dalton.
that's so funny. Is that what he said? That he's
Yeah.
a mama's boy? That's great.
He's like, I've never not had my mother. And then I immediately switch. And I'm like, oh, Miranda. Like, Mama who? Like,
That's
uh,
so smart.
so yeah, so it was a very fun thing to consider with with that new dynamic that
Yeah,
got
I was like, there's Gonzala, Ariel could be played by man or woman.
yeah,
So there's all kinds of great possibilities. And then it just, again, in the general call, it's like what's available. It's more about, oh, this is who we got, and would be nice if we could.
right.
These are the roles that we can gender swap. These are the ones that are available to us. Having a understanding of that is helpful. Knowing that like Lance came with the title,
Mm.
so that's
Did you?
that's a Tyler Woods and Lance kind of conversation, and then
Yeah.
my hiring on board this year specifically. Tyler and I was like, wow, this is like over 70 actors, and there was maybe only a couple green-ish,
Yeah.
not a lot of experience, but had potential.
Hmm.
You know, most of it was like, whoa, this is going to
Yeah.
be really tough. And so you say that and go, well, how do I work with OSP? Well, just be part of it. Like I worked to get apprentices last year, and they don't know. I mean, there might be one attitude of going, I'm just kind of working the house here. And I go,
Yeah.
no, you're not working the house. You're seeing how the audience exists. You're seeing what Tyler has to put up with. You're seeing how a theater is run.
Right.
Hang in there. And so those that have and are finding opportunity this year, it's a
Yeah.
good poster board for what is possible. So you almost want to whisper that to every actor who didn't get cast to go, just stick around. Your time is coming. I promise you. You were great. Especially if anybody was called back for Tempest. They were so good
Yes.
that it just becomes about like, oh, okay.
Who fits the
Have
vision?
more of a personal relationship with this person that will work in a way that I'm asking them to work that makes sense. And so those things become just part of a logistic conversation about casting. But man, yeah, the talent pool in Oklahoma is pretty strong.
That's amazing. Yeah. I miss it. I miss the shows.
Miss you there, you and Michelle, just bringing up the fun.
Yeah.
You create the vibe.
It's, I miss it. There's sorry, Oklahoma. There's not so much that I miss. I'm out here in Germany, but I miss the productions. I miss the environment. I miss the energy. And that's what OSP and that's what all of you have that I just love so much. All right, last question.
Well, you are missed. You are greatly missed. And so this is great to be able to at least see you
I know.
and talk with you and try to get Michelle to FaceTime, or we can set up a Zoom or something so you can see the show for a dress rehearsal or
Yeah,
something.
that would be amazing. At this stage, right? You talked in the beginning about like how your perspective on the Tempest has changed changed, as you've developed as an actor, as you've embraced the different stages of going from actor only writer to all of the things,
Hmm.
right? What advice would you give people in the field that you think might help them get where they're going?
The advice I would give is to get a strong mentor. Get a strong mentor, someone that you believe in. When I was in Atlanta Shakespeare Company, there was a guy named Maurice Ralston. And I was at a bar and I said, Mo, I want you to take me under your wing. And he said, get the fuck away from me. I'm not interested in being anybody's dad. or anything. I'm not, don't look at me as I'm not that, I don't play that role. And of course, what did Mo do? Mo became one of my first professional mentors where I could, and I still do. I had a conversation with him just a week ago. He had me in his wedding. I was at part of his wedding party. And I currently work with a mentor. He's not in OSU. He's not at OSP. He's someone from the outside that I admire his career. He has what I want. And we talk every 2 weeks from his perspective, what he's doing. I would not have anything that I have around me if it wasn't for these people in my life that have been integral to what I'm doing. I just wouldn't. I have leadership people in my life that they do their roles, and I become an asset that they manage. I have that, but what I would offer to any artist is find a strong mentor and make that relationship that there's no bones about it. You listen, and they will tell you based their experience, and you will take notes. And for the most part, do what they say. Because they're right. So for someone as stubborn and as myopic and as focused as I can be, I need a mentor to go, you know what? That sounds like your perspective. That doesn't sound true. Or you know what you should do? You should continue to do the Actors Carol. You should do it next year. You should do it in a different city. Oh, I don't want to do this. No one's coming. That's just a pain in my ass. It's too much work yeah, it's the work. Whatever they compliment me about or whatever they see about a style or a way of working that they respond to, they're responding to the way that I've been mentored. They don't believe it. They think it's intuitive by me. And I'm like, no, the only thing that's intuitive by me is that I know it's important, and so I do it. It takes a lot of work. People will say the business is so hard. It is, but there are things that you can do as a young artist to stay in the game. And that would be by seek out a really strong mentor. How do I do that? Well, you can become part of, you could be part of the National Alliance of Acting Teachers, and they have a mentor and they have a teaching development program. And you can go through these. You can go to Michael Chekhov Institute and you can study at these things or you could just go see plays and go to the Goodman in Chicago and see actors and go, there's something about this actor that I like. I want to go out and have a cup of coffee with them. And so that would also back up to don't follow cringe culture. I mean, some people go, oh, you're It's like, no, it's not that. It's a very healthy relationship exchange. It has nothing to do with anything other than the mentorship and apprentice part of this beautiful vocation that works.
I think that's great advice. All right. Well, I will let you go, but first we've got to plug The Tempest, which is showing starting June 11th, right?
Correct.
To
Correct.
the 28th.
Correct. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So Thursday, so you have 4 chances every week to go see it. Make sure you go see it. Grab a pizza. Grab some drinks from Henri. It can be water. It can be a beverage of your choice, right? Make it a picnic.
Go out, yeah, make it an experience, make it have a great time with it, and then be part of the community. Come back and see Julius Caesar. If you are listening to this because you're a fan of OSP, be excited because we're going to do things with the garden that you've never seen before. And so there's a lot there. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement about what we're doing scenically with The Tempest and with Julius Caesar that we're hoping that the patrons will really get a kick out of.
I'm sending Michelle with a recorder. All right. Well, it has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being on the show and all of your great work.
You're the best. You are such a great, again, like mentorship in champions. You are so supportive to all the artists at OSP. I mean, your absence, can you imagine? It would just be like, I don't know, I feel like it would just be artists being insecure about what we're doing, but you you provide a space for us to go, no, you're valued, you're appreciated. We love you. You and your friends are so, you don't realize what a role you play for a healthy culture at OSP. And
Oh,
I really appreciate it.
um,
Yeah.
well, I can't wait to see you in Germany. Everybody else, just remember, all the world's a stage, and you too can be a shrew. Bye.